So there's really no such thing as, if you heard me say this, there's no such thing as death. What do I mean by that? See, the only real death when you study from a metaphysical level is suicide. That's right, suicide, because a real metaphysician is able to predetermine their death based upon their actions. And you might think to yourself, well, what about car accidents and things and like mistakes? These are actually instances that are already programmed in the matrix, ripples that probably wouldn't, most likely wouldn't happen unless you were already on a path of your own destruction. So when you talk about death, this is supposed to be the only thing that can break certain contracts, is death. So if there's no such thing as death as a master teacher, then that means that there's a such thing as a contract that you perform that would be considered an infinite contract, infinite, but still able to measure and calculate. And where I'm getting at is that, for instance, your family may own property and they may be dead to you. And the property may have been sold to someone else. You may be married, same thing. In the marriage contract, it says, till death do us part. So the contract may have been sold to someone else. And you may think that the interest, now we're about to go into interest, associated with that contract is not able to be calculated or recouped because the property was sold. However, when you get into high levels of sovereignty and metaphysics, this is when I talk about unlocking money. There's a way to unlock the money that may be associated with your dead ancestors, supposedly dead. I say supposedly because, again, we know that there's no such thing as death. There's just transformation. So even if you're deceased, this is why we have an inheritance. So even if you're deceased, you have an inheritance or a will set up that your family is supposed to inherit your fortune. And I'm pointing this out because there's a lot of contracts that was associated with the dead. And if the right person has the right skill set and the right bloodline, can unlock monies that wouldn't have been able to access, tax-free money, from such a high level metaphysical idea and concept about death, believe it or not, still goes back to contract law. Everything that's in the Kabbalah and all the high level mystical teachings about the Kabbalah, the tree of life, which is what it is all tied into contract law still, is where I'm getting at. So when you're researching this stuff, never think that your attorneys and your skilled people don't know what's going on and aren't collecting on what's going on. You could be in a situation where you could be rich and just not able to access it because of the fact that you don't have the knowledge, or you haven't aligned with certain aspects of your dead ancestors to be able to access their will, is what it is. So what I'm pointing out here is that I'm going to go ahead and place my bet on Kansas City for this reason. People wonder, like, what are you going to do for the Super Bowl? We always talk about other sports. And I'm going to place my bet with Kansas City because I believe that if Kansas City wins, this is going to take us back into the story of the Wizard of Oz. And remember, Dorothy wanted to go home. She had to follow the yellow brick road, which is gold, to go home. And I'm pointing this out because if this portal does close and Kansas City doesn't win, this game doesn't just represent, to me, it's more of a metaphysical game, actually. It doesn't just represent some small skirmish of who's gonna win and gonna lose. This is gonna take us into a point in history is to where we're gonna have to make a decision. Are we gonna make it? Meaning that are we gonna make the shift? But not just the shift, are we gonna make it to what some people call heaven on earth, or are we gonna stay on the prison planet? And talk is cheap. Oh, it's really cheap. Because when the game is over, you'll see the numbers and you'll be able to know whether or not we made it. So you can say, well, I want to go and I want to make it, but like I said, talk is cheap. And I'm saying that because Philly represents the prison planet, which really is the illusion and the lie that you tell yourself every day. You tell yourself you're poor, you tell yourself all these negative things. This can turn into a real reality too. A real dark reality too of telling yourself stuff that if manifested could turn into a prison for all of us. So reprogramming is definitely something I'm promoting in this bet. One of the biggest bets I ever did, because it's going to be a metaphysical bet. Like I was telling Percy Miller is what I call him earlier. He had plugged me in with a $9 million deal that I'm going to use as a part of this ritual to try to help to open this portal up so we can bring in this extra money and this unlimited abundance. Because like I was telling him, yeah, you see the same problems that I see. I just see a scientific remedy of solving it, whereas you may see the physical or the carnal aspect of like, okay, we need to create more intelligent people and more creative people to start businesses. And the mundane aspect where these people aren't intelligent and creative because they haven't unlocked their spiritual gifts. And unlocking your spiritual gifts isn't just waiting. It's timing. That's where I'm getting. It's timing. And right now is the time. I'm telling you, right now is the time that if we go ahead and wake up and unlock our spiritual gifts, there's no amount of money we won't be able to access. So there's no dream that you have in your head right now that you won't be able to play out. So you guys, I'll be coming up with more, man. This is getting ready for the new information that's coming through me. Depending on what happens with this is going to determine what I'm going to do with my videos and which direction I'm going to take them in. Because if we go the prison planet route, I'm not going to be on the spiritual. I mean, I'm always on the spiritual, but I'm not going to be promoting it. And I'm going to look at the spiritual as a secret society and go into freeing our people financially from the prison planet. But however, if Kansas City wins, this tells me that our people are ready for what I would call the final frontier, or getting our people ready to make extremely large amounts of money and go ahead and expand into this network marketing company that I'm talking about, and all of that based upon this one bet. So you guys wish me luck. I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Peace.